Some things on the surface seem so nice, cute even. They look so unassuming and downright adorable. But underneath is a dark history with twists and turns. Secrets lurking where you'd least expect them. Am I talking about the Freemasons, Illuminati, government conspiracies perhaps? Unfortunately, it is far worse than that. Today I'm exposing the Christian video game, Super 3D Noah's Ark.
Okay, I may be exaggerating a bit for dramatic effect, although I do think the history of this faith-based game will both intrigue you and leave you scratching your head just a little bit. So let's answer the question first. What is Super 3D Noah's Ark? It's a game that was developed and released by Wisdom Tree, a company who had a track record of making biblically based games such as Spiritual Warfare, Exodus, and many more. Don't be too shocked if you haven't heard of it, as it was released in 1994 for Super Nintendo and had players feeding various restless animals via a slingshot until they fell asleep. That's basically it. That's all it had to offer. So what makes this children's game so interesting, you might ask? Well, before I tell you the 3 reasons why this game caught my attention, I want to point out a few odd details before we move forward. First off, Noah is clearly adding sedatives to this food. I mean, look how quickly that goat falls asleep. Either that or Noah's wife is right off frame with a tranquilizer gun and is knocking out all of the cute little adorable animals. Second is that Noah has to be a narcissist because these levels are absolutely filled with pictures of him. And the last thing is, what the game doesn't quite lead on to when you're first looking at it is that if Noah doesn't feed the animals fast enough, they murder him. In fact, the last boss battle is a giant grizzly bear that will maul you to death if you don't move quick enough. But enough with all that. Here are the 3 reasons why this game is my absolute favorite. Number 1, where it got its start. When you first look at this game, you would never imagine that before it was a simulation for a beloved Bible story, it was supposed to be a game adaptation for the horror film HELLRAISER. But reported by Outside Xbox, Wisdom Tree spent nearly $50,000 to buy the rights to make a HELLRAISER game, but then apparently decided it didn't fit into their family-friendly or Christian game lineup, so they scrapped the project in exchange for a less controversial title. Now, you're probably thinking that surely at this point in the game's development is where it diverges from the hyper-violence and the horror themes, and exclusive it becomes a G-rated affair. Well, you'd be wrong, because the developers at Wisdom Tree didn't want to write code for a brand new game, so instead they decided to buy the engine and the mechanics from another game. But not just any game, one of the most violent games that have been released up until this point. So much so that Nintendo had to force the original game to change before they would ever release it on the NES. That's right, this Bible-based children's game is built from Wolfenstein 3D. You know, the one where you indiscriminately slaughter Nazis while you're wading up to your boots in blood. Yep, that's the one. Heck, all you have to do is look at the HUD display in both games and the similarities become unmistakable. All it took was substituting the cussing, gore, and vulgar jokes in exchange for viable trivia. See, I told you this was weird. Reason number 2, shady business practices. When you think of a company that makes Christian games, you would assume that they would only have the most above-board business practices, right? Wrong. If you played the NES, you probably noticed the odd shape of the cartridges. This design was proprietary, and every developer that wanted to release a game on that system, legally at least, had to pay for licensing the technology. Let's take a look at a normal cartridge and now compare that to Super 3D Noah's Ark. Notice anything odd here? Yeah, it has that extra plastic piece at the top. It also has this weird disclaimer at the bottom as well. That's because Wisdom Tree was pulling a fast one on Nintendo. In order for the game to work, you had to insert the cartridge and then add a normal or a licensed game in the top to fool the system. Not only was this legally dubious, it looks super weird. Luckily or unluckily, depending on how you see it, Nintendo really didn't care because the game absolutely tanked. Which brings us to reason number 3, buying it today. You would assume that an obscure Christian, unlicensed, unsuccessful game made for a system practically no one owns anymore would be dirt cheap, sitting at the bottom of a bargain bin in a Kmart Blue Light Special. However, you would be mistaken because of the wild rumors with the game's past, internet oddity, and the general scarcity of this version of the game. Prices are insane for it. One was even professionally graded and is being sold for $559.99. Oh, but it has free shipping, so they throw you a bone. But don't be too heartbroken. If you're wanting to pick up a copy to play, you can still buy a digital version of the link down below, and it even got a graphical upgrade along the way, although I would set your standards accordingly. Well, that, my friend, is why Super 3D Noah's Ark is my favorite Christian video game that I have never played. If you've ever played the game, make sure to comment down below and share your experience. Also, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can be alerted when we release more content that is not Noah or NES related.
Call 1-877-BIBLE. That's 1-877-BIBLE.